Hello, my name is Eric Davenport, and this is my social psychology final project presentation. For my presentation, I will be focusing on group influence as my social psychology concept. A group is defined in the text as two or more individuals who interact and can influence one another. Group influence in social psychology speaks to the various manifestations of group pressure that occur as a result of either being a part of a group or just exposure to a group. Um, Group influence as a phenomenon deeply affects human behavior, especially in modern society where we have access to more groups as we're more connected than ever to things like social media, and all of our groups and their inputs are available at the click of a button. In particular, I'm going to focus on conformity, groupthink, and social identity theory as the main parts of this concept, and explore how they manifest in society. Conformity is people's tendency to act differently due to the influence of others, and this is a common issue that we're seeing more and more in our society. Groupthink refers to the fact that decision-making groups tend to suppress others to maintain group cohesion. And social identity theory speaks to the fact that people tend to categorize themselves into groups, which they then use to establish an in-group and an out-group, and that affects how they view and perceive others. All of these concepts are key to the social issue that I've chosen, which is political tension in America. Now, I think more than ever, our country has become extremely divided along political lines, partisan lines, Democrats and Republicans, liberals and conservatives. It's very much a two-party system and very much diametrically opposed. And I aim to show how these group issues are sort of one of the main causes of this. So during my research, I found a study from Pew Research Center speaking to the fact that voting is becoming increasingly split down partisan lines every year. Data from the Pew Research Center shows that the ideological distance between Democrats and Republicans has widened significantly since the 1970s, with serious statistical differences between ideological differences in voting in just 30 years, from 1970 to 2000, and there's even exponential increase since the advent of internet and social media. Media consumption also continues to become more and more segmented according to personal beliefs and social groups. According to the Pew Research Center, liberals and conservatives have distinct preferences for media outlets with little overlap between the news sources. So the fact that liberals in our country feel that they can only watch CNN, CSNBC, NPR, and conservatives find themselves going to platforms like True Social or Fox News, once again, creates an increasingly segmented country and increases political tension. So, how do we find a solution? Well, my solution involved doing research on various ways that have been studied in social psychology to combat group influence. So, in particular, to combat groupthink, it's imperative that we encourage critical thinking, and we need to foster a culture of critical thinking that encourages people to question assumptions and challenge conventional wisdom. A study by West and others highlights the importance of critical thinking in combating groupthink and improving decision-making quality. The study found that individuals who are more likely to think critically are less likely to just go along with groupthink decisions. It's also imperative that people seek external input. A study by Stasser and Titus in 1985 found that groups exposed to external input were less likely to succumb to groupthink and were more likely to make a more accurate judgment. In order to combat social identity theory and social identities forming and dictating how we behave, we need to form cross-group friendships. Research by DeVideo in 2004 showed that cross-group friendships and associations lead to more positive attitudes towards out-group members and greater willingness to engage in intergroup contact. We also need to foster education and awareness about the supposed outgroups that naturally form. A study by Davis showed that educational interventions aimed at increasing awareness of social identities of both the in-groups and the out-groups led to reduced prejudice and increased tolerance. And lastly, in order to combat conformity, we need to promote diversity, equity, and inclusion. We need to embrace diversity in groups and encourage the expansion of different viewpoints within said groups. Research by Crisp and others in 2006 demonstrated that mere exposure to diverse perspectives can decrease conformity and highlight opinions and variability of opinions within a group. And lastly, we need to provide role models who resist conformity. Research by Berkowitz and Devine in 1975 showed that exposure to nonconformist role models can actually decrease conformity by providing social proof that resistance is indeed possible. By combining all the aforementioned variables and combating, conformity, social identity, and groupthink, we can lessen the impact of social influence and therefore reduce the political tension in our country moving forwards.